Get started. Thanks for joining us today. And I'm just going to go through a few announcements and then I will turn the time over to Kymberly. We are recording this ECHO session for educational and quality improvement purposes. By participating, you're consenting to be recorded, and if you do not wish to be recorded, please disconnect from the session. This is a community of practice. ECHO, we hope it to be an interactive community, so we really encourage every participant to be engaged in asking questions and providing feedback and just participating throughout. We love to see everyone's cameras on. It's not a requirement, but we just love to have that community of practice. So we will start with our didactic speaker presentation, which today is Kymberly Horth. Then we will have our real situations, real solutions presentation and discussion. And then we will go into breakout rooms and discuss that presentation. If you attend 2 of these trainings, we will send you the Unpacking the Pyramid Model workbook for free. If you've attended 2 or more trainings and haven't received your workbook yet and you're expecting that, just feel free to reach out and we can make sure we get that to you. And it's a really great resource just to have on hand. There's a lot of strategies and great tips involved in it. We have, since this is the last session of the more preschool focused Unpacking the Pyramid Model session, we have our second winner of the Pyramid Model Classroom Kit, which is Mary Steele. So I don't know if she's on today, but I believe she's at Compass Preschool, and she won the Pyramid Model Classroom Kit, and it includes the Tucker the Turtle Kit, Problem Solver Solution Kit, Super Friends, Classroom Visual Display, and the Emotional Literacy Kit. So congrats, Mary, and we will get that sent off to you soon. We ask that you protect individual privacy. Please avoid using any real names or initials and de-identify any examples and situations. Please rename your Zoom profile so that includes your name as well as your organization, just so we can know where everyone is from. You can feel free to send any questions throughout the presentation into the chat, or you can use the raise hand function. Both of those are great, or you can just go off mute in order to ask a question. By attending today, you will be able to receive a certificate of attendance. Once you fill out the feedback survey that we will be sending the link to throughout the session, you will get a certificate of attendance emailed to you. We have a Canvas page. You should be automatically added to it, and it will have all of our past ECHO sessions on there in case you missed some or you want to go back and look at the resources. And we'll have all of the resources there. It's also on our website, Utah Pyramid Model. And if you're having trouble accessing Canvas or the website, you can reach out to Faustine. For our real situations, real solutions presentations, we actually have a fun update that I will get into later in the ECHO session. But if you are struggling in any way and you want any ideas, you want to brainstorm in any way, we'd love for you to present a real situations, real solutions presentation. So just reach out to me or Faustine and we can get you set up with that. We have an awesome announcement. We have our early intervention focused Project ECHO. So these last 8 sessions have all been more preschool focused and childcare focused. And now the next few sessions will all be all about early intervention. So we ended up having a date change. It will be starting on June 10th from 1 to 2:30, and I'll be getting the registration link sent out to all of you this week. So we really hope you join. There's going to be a lot of useful stuff. The first session is going to be on nurturing and responsive caregiving. And if you know anyone in early intervention who might be interested, or any parents who would want to join, please feel free to send the registration link to them as well. And of course, everyone's welcome. So it's not just for EI. Anyone is welcome. So our session presenter today is Kymberly Horth, and she will be presenting on problem solving. Oh, that's supposed to say part B. Sorry about that. And just a note, I sent out the resources ahead of time that Kymberly will be using throughout her session, but we did have some people register in the last few days, and we've also had some emails that looked like it wouldn't let me send it to them. So if you have not received the resources, just send me a personal message on Zoom and I'll make sure to email those to you so you can access them throughout the presentation. So with that, I will turn the time over to Kymberly. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thanks Hannah for getting us started, kicking us off. Hello again, everybody. My name is Kim, and I am the Pyramid Model Consultant facilitating your part 2 of Unpacking the Pyramid Model on teaching social problem solving. So, just a very brief summary of what we covered last time. I hope that all of you were able to either attend last time or catch up on what we talked about last time. But as a brief reminder to get us back into gear here, we are talking about social problem solving in this session. Social problem solving, for our purposes of discussion, is really the conflicts that kids have with their peers. If we extend out the problem solving world, sure, we can talk about problem solving as it relates to math or to problems that kids have within their own selves or within their environment. But the resources that we're really focusing on for these sessions are about navigating the conflicts that kids have with their peers. So these are the teaching practices that we started looking at when we were together in April. We reviewed the first 2 last month. So we looked at explicit instruction and we looked at setting up the environment. And today we'll wrap up with the remaining practices, and then we'll have a little bit of planning time together at the end. Just as another quick reminder about the components of teaching social problem solving, we really have 2 things that we are teaching in parallel. And that first thing that we're teaching is the problem solving process, the steps that we support children to engage in as they go about solving a problem. So that's identifying the problem, brainstorming some ideas, evaluating the solution, possible solutions, and then carrying the solution out. In parallel with that, we are also teaching a variety of solutions that kids can use that they can apply to a lot of different situations. So the solutions are things like wait and take turns, offer a trade, ask someone to please stop, ignoring a behavior that you don't want to see. So we're teaching both of those things in parallel to really help kids learn how to navigate social conflicts. So let's go to our next strategy. So our next strategy is teaching in the moment. So after we've provided all this intentional and explicit instruction around what to do when you are encountering a problem, in sort of that decontextualized way, that was the explicit instruction. Now we're really teaching and supporting problem solving in context, in the situation where kids are experiencing conflict, where they're having problems. So my number 1 tip here is to catch it early. And by catch it early, what I mean is we know that when problems arrive, that emotions tend to rise, that we go from maybe more comfortable emotions to uncomfortable emotions, like maybe feeling anger, feeling frustration, feeling disappointment. And we know that when those emotions arise, it can be harder for you as the adult to teach, for that child to listen to what you're saying, use the information that you're trying to provide. So by catching it early, before emotions start to escalate, then you're really helping the child when they're still when they're more self-regulated. This is not to say that you can't teach as emotions are escalating or after emotions have escalated and the child has self-regulated and has come back down. I'm just saying that by catching it early, you could perhaps save a little bit of time, and your instruction is going to help prevent some potentially some challenging behavior or some moments where kids are going to need support to self-regulate. So then you're going to support the children or children involved to identify the problem. Remember, that's the first step of the problem solving process. So take some time to ask the children in their words what's happened. Personally, I like finding out from all the kids involved what the problem is, helping them identify like kind of the root of the problem. A lot of things that we hear kids say at this age is, well, I had it first. And sure, that could be beneficial information. Personally, I don't really care who had it first, because the problem is that we both want it. And now that's what the problem is. So when you're identifying the problem, it's nice to hear what all kids have to say about what the problem is, about what's going on. Then as you're supporting the kids to engage in the rest of the problem-solving process, a great strategy to use is to provide visuals and provide some choices and modeling of what kids can do to solve the problem. So choices could be, which solution do you want to try? We could try A or B. You could provide those with visuals, of course, that can be really helpful. Visuals of the steps, visuals of the possible solutions, and modeling. So modeling what the language could sound like, modeling what a trade even means. Because in order to trade, to get something that you want, you have to offer something enticing, incentivizing to that person to get them to want to trade with you. So kids are probably going to need a lot of support in order to engage in a solution like that. And then finally, just like with all of our other examples of supporting problem solving, we want to celebrate kids' effort and success. So celebrating all the hard work that they're putting into solving that problem, like, oh man, you tried this solution and he didn't like it. And they tried this next solution and they still didn't like it. So now we're about to try the third one. You're working so hard to try to find a solution for your friend. That can be just as valuable as celebrating when the problem solving is working. So I've got a video example here for you of a teacher supporting problem solving in the moment. I know we've got people working with a variety of ages here. So here's a nice example of a 2-year-old classroom where the kids are outside on the playground in a childcare program. And the teacher is supporting the 2 children to engage in the problem-solving process. You'll get to see the teacher has very active involvement in this one because the kids are 2 and they kind of lose where they are in the process and need a lot of support to stay engaged in it. So it's a nice example for that. I need to make sure I shared my sound. Let me just take care of that first. Okay, let's try it out.
It says we can use our helping hands. Nice thinking, bud. You can pick your solution and then ask your friend.
My best take turns. Could we take turns?
Can we wait and take turns, Joseph?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I want to take turns with that.
Yeah, so Joseph, when you're all done, you're going to give it to Magnus.
This dude sound no, I'm sitting right here.
Yeah, Sam's using it right now. So Joseph, when you're all done with the orange cube, we're going to give it to Magnus, okay?
I don't know too.
Yeah, when you're all done with it. Are you all done with it?
Yeah.
Okay, say Magnus, it's your turn.
Your
Did you hear? I'll help him. I know, I'm gonna help him. Did you hear, Joseph? Say it again, Joseph.
Say again.
Say, Magnus, it's your turn. It's your turn, Magnus. Wow, what do you want to say to your friend, bud? You could say, thank you so much.
Okay, so there we got to see the teacher. I think the video started about when the teacher was supporting those children to start looking at the solutions. So we missed that first part where it's catch it early and working with the kids to identify the problem. But we got to see choices. We definitely got to see visuals, and we got to hear modeling. The teacher was giving explicit examples of the language that the kids could use. Okay, so our next teaching strategy is going to be supporting kids to reflect on their use of problem-solving strategies. So when we are supporting the reflection on problem-solving strategies, it's really great to review, basically go through the steps, review all the steps of what had happened, so that kids get another chance to learn from their peers and from familiar situations. So you can review the problem. You can even have the kids restate what the problem was. You can talk about the feelings that were coming up, maybe during the problem, as the problem was happening. You can talk about the feelings that came up after the problem was resolved. You can show the relevant visuals of the steps and or the solutions that were used during that problem. And then, of course, acknowledging the effort that kids were putting into problem solving. So rather than me belaboring the points, I've got a great video example here for you of another teacher who's supporting problem solving. This is a public preschool, a pre-kindergarten classroom, so all these kids are 4. And this is the end of their center time routine. This is what they do after center time is all over. They gather on the rug, and you'll get to hear this part of the routine. Pay attention to the actions or the structures that the teacher does to support the kids to reflect, and then we'll discuss a few.
A lot of super friends today. Let's see, Gwendolyn, we had kind of a problem over in home living. Tell your friends about the problem first. Let me get over here where I can fit. Someone took something off your head, and how'd that make you feel? Sad. Made you feel very sad. So what did you do?
I got a teacher.
You got a teacher. What solution was that? May I borrow yours?
Get a teacher.
Yes, it was find an adult or get a teacher. What other solution could she try if that happened?
Please stop.
Oh, she could have tried. Please stop. In the end, did you need a teacher to help you? No, what happened?
Please give it back.
He gave it back to you. He gave it back, and that fixed it wonderfully. I love that, Jaleel and Nathan. Nolan, thanks for fixing your tracking. We also had another problem in home living. Naomi, what was the problem when you guys put your tickets on the sign?
We wanted.
Oh, let's let Naomi go first.
4 people were there, and I wanted to play their.
Okay. So timer, Trace. So a timer, did that work for you?
And
What solution is that? Being what? What, we were being safe? Were we being
kind.
kind?
I actually helped.
All right, let's let Naomi finish. And then Gwendolyn left so that you could have it. It's kind of like waiting and taking a turn.
And I helped.
And Aria helped because she's solutions helper. Why do you think it's important that we are kind and respectful in using solutions? Jane Emily?
Because you need to like because if someone's sad, you need to help them up.
Yeah, if someone's feeling sad, it's important that we make them feel better and help them out. Aria, why else do we need to use solutions?
Jane, Emily, and Mallory wanted to come in. Me and Gwendolyn left.
You two left, so you could. What solution was that, do you think?
Taking turns.
Yeah, that was that's one of my favorite ones, is waiting. We had a lot of good, great friends waiting and taking their turn today. So let's stand up and let's give that a cheer. Let's give that a cowboy, cowgirl cheer, and then I'm going to put my friends up as super friend. All right, get your legs apart. Get your lassos in the air. Trace, help us out. We're going to give a big yeehaw. Here we go. Yeehaw! All right, you may sit down in 3, 2, and 1. Just a minute.
Okay, so in the chat or unmuting yourself, whichever you feel most comfortable with, share some things that you noticed that teacher did to support the kids to reflect on problem solving.
I just think it was great that she gave them the opportunity to talk about the problems and the solutions they tried.
Yeah, so the kids were really actively involved in retelling the story of their problems, right? I see in the chat some people say that she noticed that she had the visuals ready to share. So everything that she was saying, she was reinforcing with any relevant visuals. Acknowledged kids' solution attempts and their contributions. We heard feelings discussion. Yeah, so pulling in review. We know that emotions are related to problem solving. So reviewing any of that language can be really beneficial here. Yeah. I noticed a couple of, every time I watch some of these videos, I get some new ideas. And so one thing I noticed this time that I watched it, was that the teacher asked the first child that she asked about the problem, the child said that her solution was get a teacher. And did you notice that the teacher pointed out that wasn't actually the solution you needed, was it? So something that when I have trained on this and when I have been a coach, working with teachers on introducing the solutions, a hang up that I've had in the past is about teachers who are like, well, I don't want kids to get the teach. The whole point is to have them just independently problem solve, right? But having the get a teacher option as one of your solutions in your set helps kids recognize that you are there to help them. And then you can support them to find another solution. The solution isn't really get a teacher. That's kind of just a cue that you can involve an adult if you'd like for help. And that's a really good way to get help to work towards a solution. So I like that the teacher just kind of acknowledged that, that the child did use this solution, but it wasn't really what solved the problem. So it helps kind of reinstill that confidence there. Got something else in the chat. I love the yeehaw cheer at the end. Yes, we're actually going to get to see the teacher do some more cheers to celebrate kids in a couple of videos. So I'm glad you liked it. We'll get a few other ideas from this teacher in a few slides. And something else I've noticed in this video in the past that people have noticed this teacher do is, as a brief aside, she says, yeah, so-and-so is the solutions helper. So in this classroom, I think one of the classroom jobs is a solutions helper, just like there's someone who's in charge of perhaps the light switch or making sure that the trash goes out. In this classroom, one of the kids is a solutions helper who gets to support their peers. Maybe this kid has had a lot of experience and success with problem solving. Maybe it's a kid that you're trying to support to use more problem solving skills instead of perhaps some challenging behavior. So some different ways to support the classroom community through jobs. Thought that was pretty cool too. Okay, let's look at our next slide. So our next slide is actually another strategy, instructional strategy, modeling problem solving. My guess is that this comes quite naturally to you or to some of the folks that you work with. We're in early childhood, we're modeling all the time, whether we're thinking about it or not. It's just kind of something that we develop. And I just want to encourage you all to continue to use this wonderful strategy as it relates to problem solving. So when I think about modeling, the way that I often explain it is just sort of like opening up your brain and narrating what you're thinking. So we'll see here on this slide an example of the teacher engaging in all the steps of the problem solving process by narrating what they're thinking, the problem at the block center. Okay, so here is our next strategy, and that's providing feedback. This is where we'll get to see some other cheers that this teacher has that she uses. So when we're providing feedback, I've emphasized it a few times as we've gone through this presentation and through what we had done in April. And then we also highlight it here because it's just that important. We know the power of positive descriptive feedback as an opportunity to make that, to continue to build that relationship with that child or those children, as well as instruct what your expectations are. So we want to make sure that the feedback that we provide is positive and descriptive. So positive is that we're emphasizing what we do want to see, and it's descriptive enough that that child understands exactly the situation and behavior that you're talking about. And if anyone else is listening, they understand that expectation as well. Positive feedback can and should vary by child. So we know that some children really light up when they receive feedback in front of their peers. That feels really good for some kids. For other kids, that can feel like too much attention. I'm on the spotlight, I'm on the stage, it's not where I want to be. And so that child might prefer something that's a little bit more private. Some kids really like to hear that large description. Other kids prefer, something quick and brief. So knowing the children that you're working with can really help you know how to help that child feel celebrated without feeling really called out. We also know that a part of feedback is also the reinforcement of the appropriate behavior. So we know that for a lot of kids, receiving positive descriptive feedback is reinforcing, but I don't think I mentioned it enough last time. So I'm also going to mention that the most reinforcing thing to use problem-solving skills is problem-solving skills working. So being intentional about helping kids find success when they are using problem-solving skills is going to really also reinforce that behavior. So that means, you know, if a kid is setting a timer, that there's the follow through, that we find the timer, that we set the timer, that it goes off, and that the kids, you know, facilitate the end of one turn and the start of another person's turn. That means that if someone says, please stop, that you help the child, the peer, stop the behavior as much as possible. I know that you don't control the situation, and sometimes, you know, it's okay to say, no, I don't want to trade with you. I want to keep playing. That's also appropriate. But when you can facilitate the problem solving working, when you can use a little bit of teacherly influence, that's also really going to reinforce the behavior. And the no, I'm not done playing with it has a time and place, and you can do work. I as a teacher liked to reinforce that a little bit more once we had a more solid foundation of problem solving skills. I like to give a lot of success at the beginning, and that let things kind of roll a little bit more naturally as kids get a little bit more confident and a little bit more experience. And then our last part of feedback that I want to share with you right now is about the how you can involve families and letting them in on what's going on in the classroom. We'll come back to working with families in a few slides. But sharing the feedback that kids are receiving about using problem solving skills with families can also be really reinforcing and very exciting for kids. So this little hexagon here with the I solved a problem today is one of the resources on the website at for challengingbehavior.org. It's little note cards that you could run off. I think it's like 4 on a sheet, and it has a few lines, and that can go home in a folder. I've seen other teachers make a little sticker on address labels that goes right, you can put right on a kid or on their backpack, whatever they're comfortable with. It says, like, ask me how I solved a problem today. I've seen teachers apply this to a wide variety of skills, and of course it can be applied to problem solving as well. I see someone in the chat just added, when children become competent in a new skill, it's really auto-reinforcing, and the peers sometimes also help reinforce the child. Absolutely, I see that too. I think that's from Alda. Yeah, I think that echoes what I was trying to share. Thank you. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in seeing what do these cheers look like, these celebrations of kids to kids, we'll see another little example right here. This is in that same classroom in the middle of center time. So you'll get to hear the teacher kind of pause center time for a moment and do some of these cheers. Some of these acknowledgements is what I mean to say.
Hands up, voices off. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for listening for directions. I just wanted to tell all of my friends that I've seen some really good solutions being used today. Aria and Zeke are going with the flow with their magnets. I've seen Naomi and Gwendolyn sharing and taking turns in home living, and Aiden sharing. Waleed is inviting Kala to play, and Ben is including Nathan. Let's give that a roller coaster cheer. Thank you, friends. Jaleel, I noticed that you're including.
So there we just get to see what an active observer this teacher is of the classroom, not just in the interacting with kids, but also taking time to see what's going on, note down a few situations, and then share that with everybody.
Hands up.
Okay. So here's my penultimate strategy, instructional strategy, and that is planning for individualization. I think a lot of us on this group are special educators or early interventionists, and so I know this is going to be near and dear to your heart. And so when we're talking about individualization with problem solving, I'm coming back to the idea that we had shared in April, which is that problem solving supports independence of many children. And so as the larger class is growing in their problem solving skills, that really frees the teacher up to continue to individualize for children who need more support. So there's lots of different, I guess, I'm at a loss for words right now, but categories, ways to places to individualize, parts of the instructional routine to individualize. So varying the level of support. So that could be how much prompting support do you give? Are you providing the words? Are you providing any physical support with that child's permission? Are you using visuals, or any of those visuals individualized for that child? So instead of the class-wide visuals that everyone shares, does that child have their own set of visuals, or does that child have visuals that have their picture on them? Shows them engaging in trade, or them engaging in getting a timer, anything like that. Your level of support could also be things like proximity, by being ready to catch it early to support that child. Then we're going to also consider if the type of responding, if that child needs support around responding. Do the peers need support around knowing how to respond to that child's communication? Do they know how that child's, for instance, AAC works? So do they know how to interpret that child's use of gestures or signs, or their home language, if that's what they're using? So instructing the individual child on how to communicate with their peers, but also instructing the peers on what does that child's communication look like. You can vary the type of reinforcement, like we had talked about previously. Is it going to be public? Is it going to be more private? Is it going to be brief? Is it going to be a little bit longer? Would that child get some sort of physical reinforcement as well as the continued social interaction? All of those are great things to consider when you're considering individualization. Specific solutions. So is that child frequently encountering the same kinds of problems with their peers? If so, then probably really being intentional about the solutions that child gets familiar with could be really helpful. So if that child is frequently engaged in problems with their peers related to, you have something I want, then some of the solutions are going to be more relevant to that problem than others. And so making sure that child gets lots of practice with what do those solutions look like? What does that visual look like? Maybe that child again gets their own set that they carry around at center time to really support the problems that they typically find themselves in. Making time for individualized vignettes or individualized review and practice can also be really beneficial. So, perhaps catching a child right before they transition to a new center to talk about, okay, so when you go to block center, what do you want to do? Oh, and last time I remember that we had a problem with XYZ. Let's think about what we could do if that happens again today. Taking little moments like that, 30 seconds, to get in a little extra practice time, or to look at the visuals, can be really beneficial for that child. So I've got another video example for you here. We are going back to our first classroom we ever looked at. This is another pre-kindergarten classroom in a public school district. We will get to see the teacher come around and talk to many individual children. And I don't have the teacher's individualization plan for any one of them, so I can't exactly tell you what her intention was, other than that she's making sure to connect with each child and give them the support that they need. So let's watch this video and pay attention to any sort of individualization examples or strategies that you see the teacher use.
3-minute timer, the 5-minute timer, or the 10-minute timer? The 3-minute timer. And what will you say to your friend when you go over? I would like to go into this area. Do you guys think it's okay in 3 minutes if she came over? You're going to leave in 3 minutes? Okay. That sounds great. You're gonna stay with Winnie? That sounds okay. Thank you guys for working with our friend Winnie and allowing her to have Are you all done already? Amazing. Thanks for being a super friend. Let me get you a super friend sticker. That was such a super friend thing to do. She knew that you wanted to come over, and she didn't even make you wait until the timer was done. She said, you know what, you can come now. Are you wanting to come too now?
Yeah.
You have a problem then, because I know that Serenity wants to stay. So what should we do?
It's your turn. I want to come here too.
So many people want to come here. What should we do? Here, Davy. Thank you, friend.
Hey, you draw that. Maybe 3 friends can come.
I remember that the sign says 2 friends. So what should we do?
We should get tired when during the airplane.
So,
I gave this to her.
right, and you just got here, right? So Serenity is the one you guys should probably talk to. She said she'd like to play with Winnie.
Hey, it's okay. If it is here and with Serenity, and then
I don't think all 3 of us can come because our center says
No,
that.
I'm saying after Gideon, when Gideon leaves, I should have a turn.
Oh, you're allowing Gideon to skip you and come, and then you'll come after. Oh, that's a great idea. Do we need to set a timer or anything, or are you okay just waiting until they're done?
Actually, ask going to be late.
That was such a super friend thing to do.
Actually, I'm not going to say something.
You guys are such good super friends. You keep allowing each other to take your place. He said he's not going to come, and you can go ahead. But I wanted to say thank you for being such a super friend and allowing your friend to come in your place. That was really awesome.
Okay. In the chat or by unmuting yourself, share some of the individualization strategies you saw the teacher use. Yeah, so I saw that too, Shirley, that the teacher was really giving the kids space to talk amongst themselves. At the very beginning of the video, did you notice the teacher had a variety of timers available? So we got to see that we didn't get to see the child choose to get a timer solution or talk about it, but we got to see the teacher walk over with the child to go look at an array of timers and choose which one she wanted to use. We got to see her practice the words that she would use when she got back to go talk to her peer. We got to see some individualization with positive descriptive feedback, as well as those super friend stickers. So some kids were offered the chance to, come up with solutions. Other kids were offered choices of solutions. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Great things that you all are noticing.
3-minute time.
Okay, so here is our last major strategy that we'll discuss, and that's just about including families. Building relationships with families and building that homeschool connection is a huge part of pyramid model practices. Of course, that applies to problem solving too. A number of the classroom resources that are available on challengingbehavior.org, there actually is a home version for many of them as well. So just like there's a solution kit for the classroom, there's a home-based solution kit, which includes an introduction letter that shares what this is with families. A lot of those solutions are more home or sibling based. So you get to see, kids of different age. It looks like there are kids of different ages on the cards, which often applies to a lot of kids at home. Or, kids spaces like that take a break card that we see there on the screen that looks like that might be a home blanket. So that it's a nice little touch that it looks like it takes place at home, that we're not just copying what we do at school for home. The We Can Be Problem Solvers book has an at-home version as well. Just like with a number of the classroom resources, a number of the family resources are also available in a variety of languages beyond English. Not an exhaustive list of all languages that we support in our communities, but the number of resources is growing every month. So you can sign up for email updates there, or just like I do, I go to the website a couple times a month and just always check out what's new. You can sort by date added if you're ever interested in that. Additionally, I refer to a number of these on the other handout that was provided to you, which is just a variety of links. So some of those links are for these resources that I'll share here, but then there are plenty more on the website. But as you're getting ready to teach problem solving or support those who are teaching problem solving, there you might just want to add some things or supplement. So one great supplementary tool is the alternative solutions, which is over there on the left. That was a resource created by a team that supports inclusion in California. And they just added some other solutions that to support kids. So instead of wait and take turns or get a timer, it says specifically wait 1 minute, because that was just a level of support that some of the kids that they were working with needed. So they put it in the solution kit. We also see rock, paper, scissors, which is a solution I taught when I taught kindergarten and first grade. My preschoolers didn't, that wasn't a solution for them. They didn't need that. But you betcha my 6 and 7 year olds really loved that solution. So if you're thinking about, what am I trying to say? The solution kit is not static. You can always add to it. You can create something that really applies to your kids. You can have kids draw or take a photo of a solution if you want to replace it. Like the get a timer solution in the kit is a sand timer. Maybe you don't have that resource. Maybe you have instead a button timer or a turn, like a time timer. If you want to take a picture of that and use that instead as your solution, by all means do it. You do not have to use these exact resources in order to be doing pyramid model problem solving. The book there that's in the middle is another version of a scripted story that walks through the problem solving steps. I've heard a lot of folks out there say that they like using this story with younger kids, with the like 2 and 3 year olds. It's a kind of an engaging way to talk about it. The spider is very cute. She holds a solution in each foot. So it's just a different kind of way of looking at it, but it presents all the same steps and all the same strategies. It's just a different way of talking about it if that connects with your kids. And then the solution kit for the classroom. I don't know if you got to see this on the previous slides, but you can print out the cards that are large and letter size. You can print out cards that are small and handheld size, just to give you lots of different options for whatever is your style, whatever your kids connect with. So if you're thinking, Kim, this is all super great, but I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to teach problem solving yet. That is perfectly reasonable. If you want to spend a little bit of time building the foundation for problem solving, and you want to go back to your Unpacking the Pyramid Model book, I recommend looking at chapters 2, 3, and 10 for some other ideas related to problem solving, which would be chapter 10. If you're really thinking about that foundation, what does it mean to be ready for problem solving? Chapters 2 and 3 could be a great place to revisit. And then going back to the resources, Hannah had mentioned this at the top of the meeting, that there was a little competition amongst y'all for some of the Discovery Source kits, classroom kits. If you happen to have one of these because you won one or you were able to purchase some with some funds, all the resources that I shared are not in the kit, but this kit has a version of everything that I've talked about. So there is a scripted story, there are solution cards, there are problem solving cards, there are posters, there's a Tucker puppet. They look different than the ones that I've talked about, but they all represent the same idea. And so if you're lucky enough to have one of these kits, then everything is ready for you. If not, you can still do everything we've talked about with the resources that are publicly available. Okay. So now we're here at a little bit of reflection time. So I will have you pull out the checklist. If you have it from last time, that would be ideal because you would have some notes from last time. If not, you can just open up a fresh one, not a problem. If you used your book to look at the strategies on the checklist, that's on page 130. So whatever is right for you, pull back out the teaching practices. And I'd like for you to make a little informal plan of where you want to start or where you want to go next with problem solving. So jot down a note of maybe something that you want to try, a resource that you want to pull out. Where are you going to go next with problem solving? I'll give you about 5 minutes to plan. And if anyone would like to share, I invite you to, but it's not an expectation. I'll set my timer for 5 minutes. Thank you. Hannah just reshared the link in the chat if anyone needs it. Okay, let's come back together. Is there anyone who would like to share what they're looking forward to trying? If so, you can unmute yourself or put something in the chat. I'll pause for a couple of seconds to see if anyone would like to share. Okay, I will go on to my next slide, but if you're still typing something, no problem, I'll read it in a moment. I will let you take a screenshot of this if you would like to see any of the references that were used to put this presentation together. Okay. Were there any other questions that came up throughout this session that I can answer for you before we switch gears and go on to the real problems, real solutions session?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
So this is Hannah. When you are helping a child to problem solve, and like, let's say you're like, oh, let's go ask them if we can take 5 minutes. How do you handle it if you go over there with a child and the other child says, no, I don't want to? If they're not open to any of the problem solving solutions the first child is setting out.
Yeah, so I would first, again, acknowledge the kid's efforts, the kid who came to you that used to get a teacher solution because they, identified a problem, found a perfectly fine solution and came over to you. That's already one thing to celebrate. Another thing to celebrate is their persistence at trying a number of solutions. That's really, really great. The peer, the kid who's not giving something up, their voice can absolutely be honored. And I would first help that kid that came to you find something appropriate to engage in and really validate that it can be really frustrating that you tried so many different things, you worked so hard and you still didn't get what you want. Help that child feel good about the effort that they put in and find something to engage in. And perhaps when another center time comes around, can they get a chance at that thing first? If they're interested in it. Meanwhile, I would also support that other child I would check in with them, like, do they understand what problem solving is? Do they understand that if you give something up, it doesn't mean you've given it up forever, that you get something back? And then maybe use some small group activities to facilitate learning that if you give something up, you might get it back in the future, like to do some activities where they're going to get to do that and something that might feel a little bit of lower stakes. Does anyone have anything to add? I'm sure you all have encountered this exact problem.
I was just thinking that when I would encounter that in the classroom, I would start a waiting list. And so I would go and we would put that child's name on the waiting list. And if it was like close to time to transition to another activity, I would let them know, like, we might have to wait until tomorrow, but your name is the first on the list, so you get to be first tomorrow. Yeah, so that was something that was pretty effective once they were really learning those problem solving skills and trusted that it would actually happen.
Yeah, that's a great one, Teresa. Thank you. Any other questions from the field? Okay. If I recall correctly from last time, Hannah, folks fill out the evaluation after the next part of the activity, or they fill it out now?
We can send a link now. Oh, yep, Faustine has it. Yes,
Faustine.
if you could fill it out now, and we'll send one out at the end of the session as well.
Okay. Then that concludes my portion of today's activity. Thank you so much, everybody. And I will pass the reins back over to Hannah.
Thank you so much, Kim. That was great. So we will now transition over into our real situation, real solution presentation. And something exciting that we're doing, especially since it is the end of the series for the more preschool focused, we wanted to focus on successes and what people are doing in the pyramid model that is working and what people are doing well, and just focus on the highlights and the positives instead of always saying what problems are there. So both have a place, of course, but today we'll be hearing from Amy Runco, I believe, and she will be sharing a little bit about what her experience has been with the pyramid model. So she will present, and then we'll break off into groups and discuss why that was successful and the other strategies that we could use with that and how we could implement those strategies into our classrooms and our scenarios. So let me pull up the presentation. Okay, and Amy, are you ready to go?
Yep, we're ready to go. So this
Perfect.
is Franco at Guadalupe, and she is here today to celebrate the success that she's been having in her classroom with using these pyramid model practices. So she's ready to go.
Okay. How do I get to the next slide?
She'll change it for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Yep, you can see it. If you want to advance it to the next one.
For some reason.
Is it not?
Is it ready?
I think she'll make
Can she make it a little?
it. Yeah.
Sorry, let me just try sharing again. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Is it on the right slide now?
Yes. Can you make it take up the screen though a little bigger?
It is on mine, so I'm not sure why that is. Do you want to try? Oh, you don't.
Yeah, on our end, it's in the edit mode, not presentation mode.
Sorry about that. This has never happened before.
Well, if we just bring it closer. I don't know. All right. So do I start?
I would say go ahead. We'll keep trying to figure it out, but
Okay.
Okay.
So I've been working as an early childhood educator for the past 24 years. I'm originally from Pennsylvania and I've been living in Utah for 11 years. I'm a 4-year-old teacher at Guadalupe. It's a full day class from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I'm the lead teacher and I have 3 assistants in the classroom. Students are primarily from native Spanish speaking, and 100% of the students are eligibility criteria of low income and at risk factors. A lot of the children come from single parent families, recently immigrated from other countries, or live in a multi-family household. I received the pyramid model training during 2021 until 2022. This year, we're doing an in-person refresher course. And I'm currently using the Connect for Learning, which embeds the pyramid model practices. This year, okay. So
Okay, thank you, Hannah. I got
thank
a big screen.
you. We've been trying new effective practices. So this year I've been working on being more consistent on teaching the friendship skills and the problem solution skills as well. I've noticed a huge difference in many of my students and their behavior with others when I consistently implement the pyramid model practices. I want to celebrate the success of having the 96% of the pyramid model practice in place as measured by the recent teapot observation. I use many visuals to support children through the transitions and expectations of the skills. For example, the classroom schedule that is posted up right now. Oh, at children's level. And then adding visuals throughout my classroom to support children's ability to follow directions. As example, learning how to properly blow your nose. We have a step-by-step on how to do that with pictures. And that is actually a child in the classroom. So he really enjoyed, he felt like a like an actor or supermodel getting his picture taken, and then showing the pictures where how many children can be in a center at a time. We increase instruction on emotional literacy through creating emotion posters and labeling, and they're able to, once they're able to label their own emotions, we go over to this collage, or I've had pictures of the children acting out the emotions, and then they're able to point out which emotion they're feeling. And that really helps them regulate it helps them regulate the emotion at that time, for example, angry or sad. And we model these strategies for self-regulation. And for example, here are the using the Tucker Turtle visuals and the steps on how to calm down, recognize the problem, and then find a solution in the solution suitcase. And we remember to praise the children we remember to praise the students throughout the day to focus when they do demonstrate these skills. And then it increases more children to participate in those skills. At the beginning of the school year, there is a language barrier as I speak English and my students primarily speak Spanish. So it is challenging to providing instruction on social emotions through an existing language barrier. But we do use one word example, or we first start with just using one words to explain the problem or the solution or the friendship skill we're trying to achieve. And then we just ensuring consistency between all classroom teachers. That's it.
Yeah,
I'm good.
So thank you so much, Amy. I love how you had so many visuals and you incorporated so many of the actual students into those visuals. I think that was really great.
Oh,
So
thank you.
we're going to move into breakout groups, and this is going to be a little more lax than some of our other past discussions if you've been there for that. But we have Chelsea, Teresa, Betsy, and Mandy. They'll be the hub members for the breakout groups. And if we could just take a minute and talk about what are the benefits of some of the skills and the strategies that Amy has been doing? Are there any suggestions? Are there any other ideas or resources that could be added onto this practice? And then how would the members of the breakout team, how would you guys implement this in your own practice? So a little bit more informal, you can talk about any of these discussions, but just talking about some of the strategies that Amy has been using. And just a reminder, as we go into breakout sessions, make sure to turn on your camera. We really want to hear from everyone. We know everyone brings valuable ideas to the table. And I think we have time if anyone has one or two clarifying questions that they wanted to ask Amy. Yeah, were there any questions that you wanted to ask before we head into breakouts? Okay, awesome. Well, we will come back together at around 2:20. And yeah, we'll see you back at 2:20. I'd love to take a minute and just move to each breakout group and share a little bit about what you discussed. So I will start with Mandy and Sue's group.
Mandy, do you want to share key points?
I'll try and remember. So we felt like the pictures provided a nice bridge, particularly since there were some instructors that don't speak Spanish and the kids do. But we also thought that maybe it would be good to have the keywords along with the pictures in English and Spanish, not only to help the kids with pre-literacy skills, but also to help teachers who didn't know Spanish to start picking up some of those words that the kids are using. And the only suggestion that we came up with was that, you know, the classroom seems to be running so well, possibly providing some information to go home to parents and help with the processes to continue there.
Awesome. Thanks, Mandy. And then Betsy and Amy's group.
Well, we were, Amy, we had both Amy's in our group, so we were cheating a whole lot because, we had access to the actual, classroom people, so, which was awesome. So we talked a little bit more about expanding the language part of it, and Amy did talk about that she had other, not just limiting it to happy and sad, but using proud and lonely and nervous. So kind of expanding on those emotion words and not just using the general ones. And they are doing that in her classroom. She said she has to focus on reviewing all the time, that's really is what's making things work, is reviewing them with the kids and making sure that it's consistent across teachers in the classroom. So that's what she really kind of wanted to work the most on next year. But I really see it as the language too of this is really important, and using those photos and those things to expand on language, whether it's Spanish or English or both, using this as language expansion as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Teresa and Aldo's group.
We talked about like the great benefits of having those visuals with children, from photos of children from the classroom. That was really appreciated. And then we talked about like looking forward to like next school year, really thinking about how can we make plans to start to incorporate these types of things from the beginning of the year. At the same time, we talked about how it's so important to have that consistent, predictable environment throughout the year, where you're always going over the visual schedule and always reviewing emotions and every day doing all of the things, so that new children who come in are welcomed and are able to catch on and learn those same skills and those same routines and parts of the day and everything as they come in. So you don't forget to teach it to them when they start. You're already doing it as your everyday. And last, we talked about there has been some feedback in the school district from kindergarten and first grade teachers and principals that they've noticed a huge change in children and who have been in the preschool classes who have been implementing Pyramid. So that's exciting.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then Chelsea and Tara.
Yeah, so being last, and I feel like we could just say ditto to a lot of the things here you talked about, but we also talked about how beneficial those visuals are, and how we feel like that helps the children feel more in control, and it just leads to less burnout for teachers and just makes it a happier place for the kids and the adults in the room. We also talked about loving the emotion wall, but wanting words with it too. And we also talked a little bit about how that could be used as a family engagement piece when they come in. It could kind of help them know what you're using, and then they could kind of implement it at home as well. Yeah, we really talked about a lot of those things that everyone else mentioned. Tara, did I miss anything? Okay. Yeah, but great job. We loved it.
Yeah, I think it was so awesome. It's such an important part of the pyramid model, is making sure that the kids and the families feel seen in the classroom and feel like they're really there and their cultures are respected. And I think that's such a perfect way of incorporating that, is having the children be the visuals. And I love that little boy with the how to wipe your nose. I thought that was so cute, and just making people see, like, let's let you demonstrate what you're supposed to be doing and what you're supposed to look like. So I just thought that was awesome, Amy. And thank you all for participating and for all of your thoughts. Just a reminder, if you took notes, to send those to Faustine. Her email is in the chat. And then just another reminder, our next session, starting with early intervention, will be June 10th. Please invite anyone who you think would be interested, and we will send that registration link out this week. And just a reminder to complete the survey, and we will get your certificate of attendance emailed to you. So thank you all for joining, and have a great day.